Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. It is episode number 318 for July the 22nd, 2025, and we're getting excited. We're getting ready for our trip to the UK and eventually over to the Birmingham Festival of Quilts. So more about that in a minute, but first, some projects I've been finishing up before we go off on the trip, and one of them happens to be my sister's quilt. You've seen this in various stages. Now it is completely finished, and what you see here is a quilted and bound quilt. And I have already delivered it to my sister along with a couple of matching pillow shams, and she seemed to really like it, so I was very pleased with that. Thought I'd give you a little close-up of what the quilting looks like. Oops, let's get this down here, right? Okay, I don't know why we're having a little problem here. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, I used a maple leaf in a swirl sort of technique that's in here. Excuse me. And I've used that particular pattern before with Quilt Path. I've used it on, I usually use this one on Quilts of Valor. And originally, this quilt was supposed to be a quilt of valor, but my sister saw the design before I'd actually made it and said she really liked that. So I thought, hey, what the heck? I can always make another one for Quilt of Valor. Well, I hadn't made one yet. Okay, this is confusing, isn't it? Okay, what I'm saying is I had the design already made. I showed her that. She liked it. I made the quilt from that design. I'm going to make another one. I might alter it slightly, and it will be a Quilt of Valor at some point in time. I still have a Quilt of Valor sitting out in the Lucy room that I thought I might get to this week to quilt, but I have not so far, and I don't know if I am going to get to it before we go on the trip. Probably not. Save that for when we get home, because I have some other things I want to work on. And this is the backing of the quilt. So you can see I use sort of a variegated or gradient, whatever you want to call it. So I'm very pleased with the end result, and my sister seemed to be very pleased with the end result, so that made me happy. Something else I've been working on, well, a couple of other projects. The snowmen are part of, well, the last part of the Christmas tree skirt called North Pole Village by Designs by Juju. I started this 3 years ago. Yeah. And I finally dug it out again and my goal is for this Christmas, I will have this completed. Now, as I said, this is the last part of the Christmas tree skirt. It is the scallops. There are about 14 of these to do, I think, 7 in the snowman, and there's 7 that have Christmas gifts on it. They don't take, well, they do take a while to do. They take over an hour for each one of these. So I've got 3 of the 7. This particular pattern done, so 4 more to go. That's today's project, to start work or get more done on that. I'd like to have as much of this done before we leave on the trip, so when I come back I can just put it all together, and after 3 years it's out of my hair. The other thing you see beside that, okay, I'm a squirrel, or there was a squirrel, whichever it is, and I'm getting a little bored making these stupid snowmen because it is kind of boring. So I got this brilliant idea. I don't know why. I had a bunch of blocks. Well, I always have a bunch of orphan blocks. And I thought, well, I'll pull them out and take a look at them. Maybe make another quick kind of kilt. Wow. I am right off my game today. Just a second. Yeah. Okay. Orphan blocks to make a quilt. So I got them out and I thought, well, they look kind of plain, so let's just throw them on the embroidery machine and add some quickie embroidery to it, not really caring, how that lands up. So I did that, and then I sewed 4 of them together, and I thought, oh, this has potential for maybe a bag. So I got out 4 more, did the same thing, and then I had them together and I backed them with some soft and stable, and I thought, maybe I can make it look like a crazy patch kind of quilt effect. So I threw it on my domestic sewing machine and did these ladder stitches along all the seams of all the pieces that are in all of the blocks. And I made 2 of these, as I said. So this is the end result. I made a bag. And this bag worked. I didn't have any problems making this bag. And the beauty of this was I had those 2 panels done. So, and they measured about 19.5 inches. So I cut off 3.5 inch strip at the bottom of each panel. Those became my bottom piece, sewed them back onto the bag. And you can just see at the bottom, there's a seam down here. And then I did the bag as you usually do. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know this, but I have found that the method that works best for me for making a lining in these bags, I used to take a piece of fabric, fold it in half, cut it to the dimensions of the bag front or back, because they're both the same, trim it out, cut it out, sew it up, put it in. And the size was always a little off. I found that I had a little bit of puckering inside the lining in the bag. Not that it really mattered that much, but it bothered me. So what I did with this bag was I laid down the front piece on top of my fabric for the lining and basically traced around it and cut it. Now the thing was, though, this is something else. God, I'm sorry about the throat. The thing was, what I found was I had a fat quarter that I want to use for the lining. I laid it out, I pressed it, I folded it in half, pressed a bottom seam to it to keep it all together. Then I laid the front of the bag on top of that piece and cut the piece out, including the little boxed squares that you use to make the box corners. And am I explaining this well? I don't think I am. Anyways, too many things on my mind this morning. Anyways, and then sewed that up. But here was the thing, and this was a fortunate accident. I'm using a half seam allowance on the main bag parts for the seams. The fat quarter I was using for the lining came out about 1/4 of an inch smaller than the width of the bag. So I thought, okay, that's all right. Still plenty of fabric here. But instead of sewing a 1/4 inch seam, I did a half-inch seam. I did a 1/4 inch seam on the lining. And it fit very nicely inside the bag. So I'm thinking my idea in the future is to, cut down the lining by maybe 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And that'll make it just fit a little nicer inside the bag. And the other little feature I did was I had enough of the lining in the bag that I was able to sort of roll it over the top. After I did the top stitch, it's not really a top stitch. Once I had stitched all the way around the lining on the bag, as one does, and turned everything inside out and stuffed the lining into the bag, sewed up the hole in the bottom of the lining that you pull the bag through. Is this making any sense to you? It is if you are a bag maker. It is making absolutely no sense to anybody on here if you've never made a bag before. Sorry about that. We're going to do a tutorial one day. So I pulled that little bit of that lining over the top edge of the bag and top stitched that down. So it looks like you've got like a little bit of a binding on the top edge of the bag. But I didn't like the way the handles were kind of hanging from there. So what I did was I used some invisible thread. I used invisible thread actually for the top stitch too on that. That way I didn't have to change colors or find a color that, worked with the bag. Also, I tend not to be that straight a stitcher when I'm doing a top stitch, so it hides, invisible thread. It's amazing. Hides a whole lot of errors or a whole lot of potential errors. So I sewed a couple lines of stitching on the very bottom of the handle and at the very top of the handle on the edge, and it keeps it nicely attached to that faux binding piece. Now, okay, none of this made sense, did it? Well, I'm not re-recording it, so get from it what you can. Anyways, I liked the bag, but what I liked even more is I said to Walter, I made a bag. And I could see the look in his eyes, which were, okay, how many problems did you have this time? Because, you know, Walter is the master bag maker. Yeah, I'm having real trouble with my lips. Anyways, dangerous. He looked at me and go, oh, I really like that. Bonus. When he says that about something that I have made, I know he really does like it, because he will not blow smoke up my butt. No, he won't. So anyways, I'm really happy with that bag, and I might make another one at some time. It's a great way to get rid of orphan blocks or things like that, you know. And yeah, it worked. Okay, so this Wednesday we have Sewing with Stephen. Now, we didn't have one last Wednesday, as you know, because we were in Toronto with friends having dinner. But we are having it this Wednesday, so that is July 23rd. Technically, it's tomorrow at the time of recording this. And all are welcome. And the Zoom link for it is a Zoom, is in the show notes below. If you've never been to one of my sew days, they happen every Wednesday. And all are welcome. And you come and go as you please, stay for as long as you like, work on whatever you want to work on, and have a good time, because we always do. So that's this Wednesday. However, having said that it's on every Wednesday, I'm now going to counteract what I just said. There will not be another Sewing with Stephen until August the 13th. So we're going to miss 2 weeks in a row after tomorrow, because we'll be in the UK. So sorry about that. But to make up for it, I am planning to do a pop-up sew day on Saturday, August the 16th. When I get back from the UK, I will have all the details about that in my show notes, the links, all that kind of stuff, and I'll be sending them out to those of you on my mailing list as well. So that's then. So you can just pencil that into your calendar if you're interested. Again, it's a Zoom. It is not recorded. It is not a YouTube live, and anybody is welcome to it, and it's a come and go kind of a thing. Okay, moving right on to So Chatty. This past week, we decided to talk about Ikea for sewing, because we'd happened to have been at Ikea last week, and I got looking around thinking there's a lot of stuff here you can use in your sewing room. Now, I'm not original to this idea. There's that frog again. As I said, I'm not original to that idea. I have seen videos on YouTube over the years where people, talk about all kinds of applications of things from Ikea to your sewing needs. So this is just my take on it. So that was on Friday last week. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about this Friday. I'm sort of thinking about doing a little preview of what we are going to see in London and in Birmingham when we are over there in terms of quilt shops. We'll see. Okay, I did buy something else this week. These are those rubber mats that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle, but they're very cushiony. And Canadian Tire, or as we call it, Crappy Tire, was having a sale, and Walter used his points. So we got 2 packages of these, and I put them in front of Lucy. I thought it would be a little easier on my back and on my feet when I'm standing there for like 6 hours at a time, quilting a quilt. Now, I had another little mat which is underneath it, but it wasn't enough padding on that, and that's a concrete floor underneath that. So yeah, so we'll see how this works out, but I think it's going to work out fine. It's nice and cushiony, and there were 3 panels left over from the ones I used, and we put them in front of Walter's workbench for him. So yeah, I think we got our money's worth on that. Well, we got them for nothing. Thank goodness for Walter and his points. He's all about points. Okay, and this has nothing to do with quilting, but has to do with 3D printing, and I didn't have this done yesterday in time for my vlog, but then I finished it after the vlog, so I'm going to show it now. My Mickey Mouse clock, 3D printed. I'm into clocks at the moment. Well, I've got enough clocks. I went on a rampage, bought clock parts, and started printing clocks, and you saw that if you saw the vlog yesterday. And so now I have a Mickey Mouse clock. The thing I find kind of disturbing about this Mickey Mouse clock is the way they designed his hands for the clock. No, I did not put them in wrong, and at first I thought I had, but no, there's only one way to put them on this clock, and it looks like he's kind of like double jointed, or I don't know. Oh well, he's a fictional mouse. What does it matter? Yeah. Okay, so that takes me to Subscribers Quilt of the Week, and this comes from Christine McKean. This week's quote from a subscriber comes from Christine McKean, and Christine McKean sends this lovely, absolutely gorgeous creation. And she says, "Hi, Stephen. I thought I would share my latest project with you. This design is by Sweet Pea and is called the Ethereal Grove Quilt. Ethereal. I think that's it. Ethereal Grove Quilt. It is all applique and embroidery. I think 84 units, 8 by 8, sewn together, add backing and bind. Takes a lot of commitment to finish. Yes, it does. This is an In the Hoop project. I absolutely love it. It is stunning, and I know exactly how much work this took. But this one is even more complex than anything that I have done in the hoop. So kudos to you for persevering, because I don't know if I would have been able to. It is gorgeous, though, really gorgeous. And you should be very, very proud, and I am sure you are, of what you have created. So thank you, Christine, for showing us this picture of your wonderful creation. And I'm assuming it is hanging on a wall or on a bed somewhere in your home, a place of prominence. Because if this was my quilt, I'd be making sure every opportunity I got to show it off, I would be showing it off. And I have a couple more quilts in my set of quilts to show on future editions of the episodes, but I'm always looking for more. So if you have one you'd like me to feature, either send it to me before the end of this week or hang on to it for a couple of weeks until I get back from the UK. Because, I won't be able to do anything with it when I'm over there, except, put it in my little archive that's on my phone and remember to get to it when I get back home. That's the danger. I might miss it if you send it to me then. So, but by all means, please send me pictures of your creations so I can feature them here on The Idiot Quilter. Okay, YouTube of the Week. Men Who Quilt. Ian from the Off-Kilter Quilter. I think that's what he's calling himself now. It used to be the Off-Kilter Crafter. I've watched him for years. He had about 4 other gentlemen on his show, and they talked about their quilting experience, how they got into it, things they've run into as men in the quilting world. And I found the whole interview, it runs for about an hour and a half. It's lengthy, but I found it very interesting. So this is my review of that particular video. This week's YouTube video is all about men who quilt, and this is put up by So Off Kilter Ian. You probably know him better as the Off-Kilter Crafter as well. But he's got 4 gentlemen in this interview, all talking about their experiences when they first started quilting. And what makes them also unique is that they are all part of the LGBTQ community, and that brings into the quilting world some issues of its own. So they talk about a lot of these. It's a very upfront and honest discussion, and it's funny as well. So if you're looking for something that's entertaining, informative, and maybe sheds a light on the others who quilt in the quilt world, not just women, then check out Men Who Quilt. Okay, so that takes me to future projects, and this one is a freebie, and it's called Charmed, I'm Sure, and it's by Moda. This week's future project is a free pattern, and it's by Moda, and it's called Charmed, I'm Sure. A free quilt pattern bursting with summer charm, and it certainly is that. It isn't a huge pattern, but it is charm pack friendly, and we're always looking at least I am, for patterns that can use up my charm packs. And this one lends itself to being scrappy as well. So yeah, if you don't have a full charm pack, but you've got bits and pieces, this is going to work. As I said, this is a free pattern, and the link's in the show notes below. And they take you through it and tell you what you need to do and what you'll need. And so all the instructions are right here on the page, but as I said, you can also download it as a PDF, and away you go. Now it looks like it's primarily just made up of half square triangles, which is very doable. And if you set it up so that you're chain piecing, you can knock off a whole bunch of these for this pattern in no time flat. So it's half square triangles and just squares. So yeah, a very simple pattern, yet depending on the fabrics you pick for it, could be very stunning. Makes a great wall hanging. I was looking for the final measurements, and it's 40.5 by 40.5. But you could make it any size you want just by adding a few more half square triangles out in the borders, or let your imagination run wild and use up those scraps. So that's Charmed, I'm sure, by Moda. So that takes me to what's twisting my seams this week and what's twisting your seams this week. And this comes from one of my longtime subscribers, Kathy Weidman. And she sends this piece of fabric, and it happens to be gnome fabric, and you know how I love gnome fabric, as her submission to what's twisting my seams. This week's Twisted Seams comes from Kathy Weidman, and she says, bought this fabric over a decade ago for the purpose of torturing my brother-in-law who hates gnomes. How can you hate gnomes? I love gnomes. Ever since he stated he hated gnomes because he had to live with all the garden gnomes his mother collected, of which there were many, my family gleefully gave Bob gnome-themed gifts for every occasion. I thought I would make placemats for their patio table, but I didn't get around to it. Then eventually the fabric got shelved and forgotten. Pulled it out the other day and wondered what the heck was I going to do with it now. I'm not going to make placemats, don't want to torture Bob with gnomes anymore. He's suffered enough. The fabric isn't really to my taste either. There's only a yard of it. I feel like donation is a last resort. There's got to be something I could do with it. Well, Kathy, yeah, I love gnomes, but this particular fabric, I kind of agree with you, is, well, kind of butt ugly. I have no idea what you would do with it either, and I have gnome fabric. But I have to confess, although I like gnomes, gnome fabric and gnome embroidery and things like that, I'm never ever sure what to do with the fabric either. So I see what you mean. I feel you for that. But anyways, thank you for sending this piece of fabric along to us. And it really does prove that gnomes aren't always really cute. So if you're going through your stash and you find something that you think would be appropriate to share with all of us, what's twisting your seams, by all means, take a picture of it and answer 3 simple questions. Why did you buy it in the first place? What attracted you to it? 2, did you ever make it into anything, or do you have plans in the future for it? And 3, do you still love it or do you hate it? That's all I need to know, and I'll be happy to show it here on what's twisting my seams. Okay, so what other things have I been doing this week? Well, here's what I've been up to. So what have I been doing this last week? Well, you can see that my project table is getting stacked up again. Those are all future projects that I would like to work on soon. So yeah, that's there. And okay, what do we got on the cutting table? Well, I've pulled out a project I started at least 2 years ago. It might even be 3. Yeah, it's more likely 3. And it's the Christmas tree skirt, the North Pole Village tree skirt is what it's called, by Designs by Juju. I already talked a little bit about that, and you can see I've got my fabric sitting there. This little box here, new project on the 3D printer, I've been making clocks. And if you saw my vlog yesterday, then you know all about what I've been working on and the frustrations I've been having with that. But we carry on. Up here on the design wall, just 2 little pieces. These are the starting pieces for the end of the North Pole Christmas tree skirt. So that's coming along. I've got to make quite a few of these yet. They're the scalloped edge that goes on there. Right now, the 3D printers are quiet, as you can see, but not for long. I'll be doing something else with them. And of course, you've already seen in the vlog, this little guy here that doesn't really work because I put them together wrong. and another one of the clocks back there. And at the time of recording this, I have a clock face here, Mickey Mouse, which I think is going to turn out okay, depending on whether or not I can get the clock mechanisms working. And that's about all. Getting ready for our big trip to the UK. So I'm making my lists, as I always do, for that kind of thing. And oh yeah, there's that wall clock as well. And yeah, it's not really keeping time either. But that has an old broken mechanism in it from a clock that fell off the wall in the Lucy room. That came from the dollar store many years ago. So yeah, as I look around, I bought a few more colored threads, just a couple in here. This is some of them, but not all of them. I need to stock up a bit, and that's another project for another day. Maybe when we get back from the UK, I really need to go through all of my thread drawers here for my embroidery and get them all like organized. They're a mess, they're out of order, everything like that, and do again another inventory and see what it is I need to stock up, because you know, in the next few months there's probably going to be more embroidery programs coming up. And I think I mentioned on my vlog that I have plans to replace at least one of these Creality 3D printers with a Bamboo A1, which is a little lighter machine than my main Bamboos, but I'd like to play with it. It's got actually the same build volume as one of these, but it will fit under here much better. I can't get another Bamboo, a large one, under these cupboards with the AMS on top. So I'm thinking space-wise, and the A1's a good little printer, and it's also a lot less expensive than one of these Bamboo biggies. So yeah, so that's what I've been up to this week. And that takes me to my review this week of an online quilt store, and this one is called Remember Me Quilts and More. This week's online quilt store is called Remember Me Quilts and More in Minden, Ontario. And it looks like they've just recently had a move to a new location. So that would be something to check out if you're in the area and you want to go to their physical store. But we're not talking about their physical store. We're talking about their online presence here on their online store. And so this is their front page. And I'm assuming that's the owner standing in front of her store as well. It says here, I do not sell tickets for these shows. Please see individual show flyer. Oh, upcoming shows. Out of stock is incorrect. I guess if you went and tried to get tickets for these, it would, yeah, quilt show. It says out of stock. They just don't sell tickets for that. Okay. Something about the owner, Allison Mallet. And she says, please note we use Canada Post for shipping. In the event of a postal disruption, please contact the store before placing an order requiring shipping. So they use Canada Post, so we know that. That's right up front. And their store hours, their physical store hours, are listed very clearly for you here as well. Okay, let's jump in and check what they have to offer. Shop fabrics. And let's take a look at their organization. You can browse by category. Chanel, fabric, batik, flannel, yarn dyed, wide backing flannel, wide backing 108, kits, notions, pattern books. Yep, so everything seems to be in this one column. And over here we have 2,292 results. And prices seem to vary, but she's got it very clearly marked here that it is, for example, this one $7.99 / 0.5, so that would be half a meter, or is that half a yard? Well, let's take a look and see. And she doesn't say if she's selling in yards or in meters. Okay, maybe there's an FAQ about that, but and we know it's by Canada Post, but we don't know how much the shipping would end up costing us, whether it's a flat rate or it's based on how much you buy. We'll come back to that in a moment. So let's just scan through what she has here. So prices seem to vary from $5 to $8.49, $12.98, and that's a panel. So yeah, her prices range from about $5 up to about $7.95, $8.49. So that means if that's half a meter or half a yard, that means her upper price would be about $17 a meter. Well, that's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. So, and she's got lots and lots of fabrics. So we can browse this way, but let's see if we can browse by, well, let's check her batiks. What are batiks going for? $7.49. Oops, slipped out of that. $7.49 for half a yard or meter. So that would be $15. That's really good price for batiks. And it looks like she's got a fairly good selection, 214 in the results. What about her wide backing? Well, that's about $25. That's good price too for wide backing. And she has 45 pieces to choose from. So that's pretty good. Well, some of it's a little cheaper than that as well. So yeah, that's not bad at all. Yeah, really. Prices are pretty good. Okay, I'm not sure if I really like the way this is laid out on the side, but it's not bad. It's subdivided, so that's okay. Let's go down and see what else she does have. Kits. Yeah. How many? 26 kits. Small quilts. Gnome one's cute. Table runners. Okay. Yeah, a fair amount. Oh, this one's kind of nice. Serenity Seahorse laser cut. Oh, so applique. Okay. And price-wise, I would say that's probably pretty much what you'd expect to pay for a kit. Let's see, pre-cuts. She has 62 in the results. And pricing is fairly standard. Here's something that's kind of nice. She puts low stock, so you know there's not much of it left. So if you're sitting on the fence, you might want to get your hands onto something like that in case it's gone when you come back again. Yeah, actually, selection-wise, it's fair. These look kind of interesting. Yeah, okay. Nothing really to complain about that. She's having a panel clearance. And a few various ones here. The gnomes are cute, but then of course I'm always attracted to gnomes, as you know. Not a lot, but that's okay, it's panels. Okay, she's got fabric wide backing up here, but she's got wide backing down here. And I don't know if those are different. Wow. They're really cheap, these ones. Well, those are solids. About $19 for a yard or meter. Okay, these look like they might be different from what she had in the other category. So I don't know why she has two categories, why they're split up like that. But, you know, you may want to check out both groupings. Solids are $12 for a yard or a meter. Those ones, well, this one's more though. That's a Benertex. But the Kona are a good price. And again, 148 in the results, so good selection. And then she's got stripes and plaids and yard dyed. Clearance. What do we got in clearance? Let's see any sales here. 232 results in clearance, ranging in $5 to $8, so that's $10 to $16. Oh no, that was a panel that I saw the 8. The rest, most of them are $5 and $6 for half a yard or half a meter. And quite a few to choose from there too as well. Okay, well, I think her selection's pretty good. Patterns and books. Okay, lots of patterns. Looks like she has a lot of Bianni, but she has a few other things. Northcott. And it looks like these might also be kits. Stitch Along. Yeah, Block of the Month, kind of thing. Okay, so they're not just patterns. There's looks like kits or things as well under that category. So there may be some things that overlap categories here. Okay, so she has all these themes. Okay, she's got notions and fabrics again. So this is very confusing. Okay, oh, it's a subsection. But she has that up here at the top too. Okay, so this needs some refining down here. This is very confusing. Things seem to be every which way. Batting and foam, let's see, interfacing. What does she sell for batting? She has hobs, 80/20. I'm assuming that, all right, she sells it by the meter or the yard. And it's $20 a meter or a yard. Well, that's not bad, but here's one problem. She doesn't say, oh yes, it does here, 96 inches wide. Okay. I usually go for 120. Here's another one, little cheaper price. This is natural. And it's about $18 a meter or yard. And it's 96 inches wide. Steam a seam, wrap and zap, and some other things. Okay, so she basically only deals in two types of batting. They're both hobs. They're both 80/20, and one is the natural and one is the bleached. Okay. All right, so we have that, and Halloween, fall, Christmas, winter. Let's take a look at Christmas and winter. 131 results. Whoa, some of these are not to my taste, but might be to yours. But there's something here. There's some interesting things. Yeah. Okay, and price-wise too. I think her prices are very, very good. Okay, is there anything else we can... That was everything there, I think. Gallery. So just some pictures of quilts. Okay. How come we have shop fabrics and then we have shop now? Take you to the same spot. Okay, there seems to be a lot of repeat on this website. So whoever designed the website needs to go in and clean up a few things because it can be a little bit on the confusing side. But what I want to know is how much shipping. I know it goes by Canada Post, but she doesn't seem to have any details as to what's involved. And did I miss anything over in this category? No. Oh, here we go. What's this? How to get it. Pick it up and shipping. Yep, that doesn't help. Availability. That doesn't help. All sales. Okay, so I am not seeing anything. So two things I have against this site. One, I am not being told whether it's in meters or yards. And the other thing is, there's no indication as to what it's going to cost you for shipping. You don't find that out, I guess, until you check out. I would have liked to have seen a little section that tells me right up front how shipping is calculated in terms of price. Okay, so overall, they've got some good choice. Their prices aren't bad. And so for those reasons, and for the ones I've also given that I find as negatives, I'm going to give Remember Me Quilts and More a 7 out of 10. So this will be the last Idiot Quilter episode until we come back from the UK, as I said. But it doesn't mean it's the last video in general. My plan is to do a video pretty much every day of our trip, showing you what we have seen that day, talking about our experiences for the day, our little travel vlogs, if you wish. And of course, on a couple of those days, we will have the Festival of Quilts in Birmingham that I'll be featuring too. We will try to do at least one live, maybe a couple of lives, but when those will be, I have no idea. So make sure you've got the bell icon turned on and notifications, that you'll get notifications whenever I decide to put new things up. If that bell works. Never works for me, so I don't know. But anyways, it's something. So watch for that. Of course, we are going to be 5 hours ahead in time from the Eastern time zone, which is where I live in, or where I'm broadcasting this from right now. So heaven only knows what time we'll be doing that. We'll probably do them in the early evening over there, and that would put it probably about mid-afternoon here, right? Eastern time. If you're somewhere else, I don't know what time it'll be. It'll be sometime. And of course, you can always catch any of those kind of things as a rebroadcast anyways, if you care to. Okay, so yeah. Rest of the week's getting ready for the big trip. And I'm excited. Not excited about the flight, because you know I do not like airports. I don't mind flying. It's just all the rigmarole you have to do to get on the damn plane. But anyways, problems of the first world, right? Okay, so I hope you have a great week. And as I said, there will be a So Chatty, but what it's about this week, I have no idea. And then, well, the next time you see a broadcast after that, it will be from merry old England. Have a great one. Bye for now.